Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Stephen Ford, and Mike Haspel. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's happening, everybody? Hope you're keeping it icy.
In the pipe, 5x5.
Such a good Flyer reference right there. Man, I tell you what, like, it is getting kind of hectic. I did not stop typing on the keyboard till about 2 hours ago today. Man, there's so much crazy stuff going on in the world of the Warhams. We got, video game stuff, because actually when I was scheduling this hangout, which we used to record our podcast, I saw the Dawn of War trailer popped up, as the feature.
I watched it. It's amazing.
I will just say that knights are entirely more dynamic than I gave them credit for.
Yeah. Did you watch how baller they were? And also, I loved how nonchalant and like just lackadaisical the stride of the Wraith Knights were.
Yeah, and the
like
Wraith Bone on the Banshees. Oh,
it was baller.
Yeah, no, they put a lot of time and effort into that trailer, and it's definitely, it's featured up on YouTube now. They're saying New Dawn of War 3, going back to the full-on, like, top-down, super crazy view that we all enjoyed, coming out in 2017.
How baller was the Space Marines, like, going, not even flinching at, like, the killer cans coming at them with their chainswords?
Yeah, they're like, oh, we got this. We got chainswords.
We got chainswords and bolters, and then they're just getting their arms ripped off and shit. I was like, ugh, Space Marines, you stupids.
I love how the whole thing was like kind of a fever dream. Like you couldn't tell like what was real and
very
what
artistic.
Was not. It was really kick-ass. The only thing I felt it was lacking was there should have been like some greater demon of Khorne watching all the bodies just drop into that crater.
Yep.
I think.
What is up with everybody making the Wednesday the new Monday with all these new releases and everything, Robbie B?
Yeah.
I'm not. Well, I get it on the FFG front. It's May the 4th. First of all, happy May the 4th to everybody.
Yeah. May the 4th be with you.
That's about the 4th Doctor, by the way.
Oh, okay.
That's what that's referencing.
Yeah, has nothing to do with anything else but Doctor Who.
I feel like it might be something different, but that's okay. We'll let everybody else.
You're literally stupid.
Yeah, you're right.
If you can't see how stupid you are.
Sometimes I wish my life was a cat. But anyways, no, it's it's crazy. It's just like everything all at once. It's feast or famine sometimes. And we already got all the Flyer stuff coming out, which I'm sure we'll talk about here. As far as the new rules go, there's been a lot of previews and things going on. So we got the new Flyers, we got the new Flyer models, we got some pre-orders going up this week for Age of Sigmar. What is it? The Court of Flesh. The Flesh Eater's Court, which is basically the undead kind of vampire count guys, the like monsters, and so those will be coming out this week. Then we got on the Star Wars front, Star Wars X-Wing front, we've got the Heroes of the Resistance, which is Poe Dameron in his sweet ass T-85 X-Wing with the Falcon with the horizontal radar dish. You got some cards for Rey, you got some cards for Finn. It's gonna be pretty dope. They're saying that's gonna be like third quarter, so probably like next year.
I literally don't know who any of those people are.
You don't know about the Star War?
They're not doctors. They're not doctors at all. Oh man, how crazy would it be if Dr. House, if Hugh Laurie was the next Doctor, like in the future? Wouldn't that be dope?
I'm down for it.
Yeah, I'd take it.
I would actually start watching Doctor Who if that happened.
You're ridiculous for not watching Doctor Who today, but okay.
First of all, I've been told that about Game of Thrones. Like, you don't watch Game of Thrones, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I was told that too about Firefly for like 3 years, and I was like, "You're stupid. Firefly is nothing." And then I watched it, and I was like, "I was stupid the whole time."
All right, word. So I'm gonna have to watch Firefly, guys. I am not smart enough to comprehend what the fuck is going on in a Doctor Who episode. Yo, are you kidding me? Like, I don't even know. They're like, oh, you gotta, like you're kind of coming in like halfway season. I'm like, motherfucker, these have been going on since 1931. Like, what are you talking about? We're on like our 75th Doctor. Like, where am I supposed to start from the beginning?
Yep. You start from the beginning like a man.
Yeah, straight up, black and white. They only have like it's actually a flip book.
Yeah.
The original Doctor Who is a flip book with stick figures. You know, like,
cave drawings and shit back in the caveman days.
So ridiculous. But nah, I mean, there's a lot of good releases coming out. Obviously, if you want to get the flyers, you want to get that new sprue, those will be out this week, and then there's some Age of Sigmar stuff next week. But the big thing is the Death from the Skies book. Well, the big thing until about 12 hours ago today was the Death from the Skies book. So I feel like we should hit on that a little bit. Jump over. We got a big,
I would suggest, honestly, since we have kind of a time limit this episode because we got people having to go to work and stuff, I would say let's save the flyers for the end so that way we can do the FAQ while we have our full cast.
Yeah, I mean that's fine too. So we got a big top 20 things, top 20 things that are going to change your 40K life or something like that.
That sounds like I think you nailed it in the first try.
Oh, all right. Well, nailed it. So there's that. So that's probably going to take a while, I feel like. Also, another thing to mention, Haspel put together this really sweet downloadable PDF of all the FAQs. He took the text out of all 38 of those Facebook posts, turned it into a really sweet PDF. You can check it out. It's over on SpikeyBits.com. Just click on Mission Packets because all of our Long War mission packets are in there too, but so is this. And also the link to War Score too. Which we've been using to run tournaments. I ran one this weekend. Haspel used it to run the Long War doubles at Adepticon.
Yeah, I might make a video tutorial on how that works because it's intuitive. It's kind of weird. It's like once you know how to work it, it makes complete sense. It's very intuitive. But the first time you're doing it, it could be a little rough.
Luckily, we had Mike Haspel with us at Adepticon. Because that wasn't the first time I ran it. I promise you.
Yeah, no, what I like about it is that you can post it up online and you can post whatever brackets or columns of scores you want people to see.
Ooh,
and then
you
it's
have that
all
kind
up
of
online.
control?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really have a lot of control over it. It creates its own little page on War Score site. And it's just really neat. Like you can make people check in. Like it's just a really neat kind of
2016.
program.
I am all about like pairings on my cell phone. Getting clicking the link and seeing my pairings. I'm all about that.
Yep. Go to lunch and then it's you come back and everybody's all queued up before I even walk in the door. It was pretty neat.
It's definitely the most efficient way to do things.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it when people are like, oh, I don't have it. I don't have the app. It's like, dog, you have an iPhone 6. Get on.
This isn't 2011. Like you got you got a.
You don't have a BlackBerry. Get out of here, man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, come to find out, you got a Siri download War Scroll.
Do what you do
now.
Oh my goodness. So
I do want to, before we jump into things, I do want to mention our promotion real quick before we get lost in the FAQ glory that's about to happen, because I heard that the legendary dice pack of Infinite Holding is back and it's paired with something amazing.
Back in action.
Yep, it's a big Spikey Bits fat sack, one of our trademark items. It's much smaller in real life, I swear. No, so that it's a pretty cool item. There's a whole bunch of descriptions over on the site. You just type in spikybits.com/Kickstarter, and I'll take you right to the current promotion. So we'll probably try to do like one of these kind of product offerings once a quarter. As we realize that, oh crap, we need to buy something, we don't have any money.
Yeah, Robbie B, I was actually going to ask, why is it Kickstarter? What does that mean?
So, funny story, when we ran our Kickstarter, which, by the way, if any of you out there are listening or ever thinking about doing a Kickstarter, the back dashboard interface to Kickstarter, it's like 90s dial-up AOL. It is terrible. I do not know how Kickstarter exists. I'm a technical guy. I feel like I can get any system, given enough time, and I will master it. Well, let me tell you what. This thing is terrible. Kickstarter is terrible. Not only that, they're like, hey, we're going to promote you. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Well, guess who they called to promote the Long War Kickstarter?
They called the #1 blogs in the industry. They called you, Spikey Bits.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we got this Kickstarter we'd like to advertise. What are your rates? And I'm like, you guys clearly don't know. This is literally, I'm part of this.
This is my Kickstarter.
And I was just like, oh, I see how it's going to be. Okay, got it. So we really didn't need you guys at all.
We didn't need to give you like over 10% of the money we raised and to take out of the money we were spending to improve our product.
To actually screw up and not tell us all of the items, because there was some folks that didn't get some stuff because whatever, long story short, technical glitches, but we're going to get it.
So if you didn't get your gamer mat or any other item, definitely hit us up 40klongwar at gmail.com. We are offering a straight up refund if you didn't get your mat, or in exchange we'll give you one of the new dice bags with the fat sack of bait inside of them. Let us know. We think we found everybody, and we're working on that. I just wanted to mention the promotion one last time before we jumped into this crazy episode.
Yeah, no, this is going to be nuts. So should we run down all 20 points and then jump into it, or what? What are you feeling?
I don't think we have them written in a way that makes it easy to.
No, there's no.
So I think let's just go. I think we should go from the top of the list. Rob Barry, your MC.
All right. So first off, I got written here: gets hot rolls on template weapons. You cannot re-roll them because of preferred enemy.
Yo, why don't they just lead that with Pask? If you are married to a plasmacutioner, you do not get those gets hot rolls are actually. You
signed a prenup and you can no longer.
Yo, true story. Wow, that takes a. I don't even understand.
That takes the wind out of the sails of people who love plasma cannons and using preferred enemy to make them never miss.
Or it makes the psychic phase. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but prescience becomes even more important, I feel like.
Well, they clarified it, and it made sense. It says a gets hot roll is not a to hit roll. So
there's also
it makes sense, but the main rulebook says instead of rolling to hit, you roll this. So in the main rulebook, to me, it was easily argued that preferred enemy worked, because it didn't go out of the way and say no rolls are rolled and said you do this whole new thing. It says you don't roll the hit as normal, you roll this. And I was like, oh, that's kind of like rolling the hit. All right, we'll use preferred enemy here.
Yeah. So then my question is, if I have a plasma gun and I am a Space Marine and there's Ulrich the Slayer next to me who gives me preferred enemy, if I roll a 1 and it is a miss, do I get to re-roll the 1?
Yes.
Yes. It has its own.
Because that's a to hit roll. Whereas for a template weapon, that's not a to hit roll. So
see, like that's what's so crazy to me is like it literally is the same equivalent of, but it's fine, but that is gangster, because I don't know any other template weapons that utilize preferred enemy. I'm sure they're out there, but that is a to hit.
It's the only template weapon that doesn't work if you roll a 1. So that's why we want preferred enemy to work so badly for it.
Yeah. So that is huge.
So if you play guard and you play Pask, well,
it's actually before this rule. I actually talked about it in the webcast tonight, guys. I have been in my Beats laboratory. I have already taken away the side sponson and put multi-meltas on it on my plasmacutioner. So I don't think this will deter me for a while of having the top turret, but it's definitely it has gone by the wayside to have the side sponsons.
It's definitely made you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, you of all people, Juice, if you've seen some of the battle reports we've done with Juice's guard, like, you take a Librarius, so, like, you should have, prescience for the most part.
But you only get to cast 2 powers, and now it's like, you only get to cast as many powers as your psychic level, so now it's like, I want this power and this power, and now I got to think about prescience too.
Yeah, it definitely is one when you're talking about, a lot of times I like to do invisibility and forewarning. I like to invisible tonight and then forewarn Pask unit to give them that 4 pin bone, and it's like to throw a third power that is always level 2. But again, it's a toss up. There's a reason why it's there. There's ways around it. It ain't a game changer, but it is definitely something that hits home to me.
Wow, Haskell, I didn't realize you made this PDF FAQ actually searchable too.
Yeah.
You're such a G. I can't believe you woke up from sleep and produced this document.
AKA, you are the man. Thank you for.
He authored it. He's the official author. The GW finally hired us. It's official.
Yep.
Thank you for we're working for minimum wage, like we said.
Oh my
goodness. Where are we at next, Robbie B?
Yeah, all right, so we got Barrage. Wait, hold on. Let me read my own notes. Barrage twin-linked effects are applicable to every scatter roll. So big for Wyverns.
So it's not just the first roll.
Mm-hmm.
It's everyone is now.
And that's been argued.
Yeah,
that's been argued back and forth. Because the wording in the main rulebook strongly indicates that you only get to roll the first instance, and it can be argued that you can keep rolling the flips, the flip dice. And a lot of people have gone back and forth on their FAQs. This just says, hey, straight up, our intent was that wyverns just don't miss. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I love it. It's so funny how, and I'm even going down the notes and stuff here at the list, literally like the first like 4 things affects my guard army. It's like negative, positive, positive, negative. I love it. Keep going.
Yeah, it's kind of the chaos. GW giveth and GW taketh. So this is interesting. No to hit rolls on Psychic Shriek. It auto hits, or any psychic shooting weapon that doesn't have a shooting profile, air quotes, automatically hits.
So not a blanket statement, not all witchfires, just witchfires that don't have a weapon profile.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
so
this is an
witchfires still
errata,
need to roll to hit, but some of them don't.
Haspel had said this is an errata because this actually needed to be an errata because the main rulebook actually says all witchfires need to roll a hit unless otherwise stated, and this never otherwise stated. So we just always rolled it that you need to hit.
Yeah.
Even though it's clear that it can be played that you don't need to roll a hit, and so automatically hits, and that's a sleeper wording because that means many
invisibility.
things. Yeah. Against invisibility, it means it auto hits.
Hey, so I guess my next question is: it automatically hits flyers as well?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a game changer. You don't need to roll that snap fire. You don't need to roll no.
Yeah, like tell me how many times that's kept a flying MC alive. Not even just a Hive Tyrant version, but Kenny, a Demon Prince or anything else like that.
That also means I can jink, because I used to have to not think about not jinking with my sorcerers on bike, because I wanted to sling a Psychic Shriek. Now it's like, it don't even matter. And
that's a good point.
And additionally, this will segue into the next part of the FAQ. It bypasses a Void Shield generator's shields. Straight up.
Yeah,
goes right through it.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense. It's supposed to be mind bullets, So it's like, well, it's not like living lightning or something where you're like shooting lightning out of and you're trying to hit something. You're literally just like, I'm melting your brain. So so I feel like it actually makes more sense now.
Yeah, you're never supposed to get high off your own supply.
Roll 2 would be a crack dealer.
Yeah, roll 2. All right, so speaking of a Void Shield generator, the new bubble is fixed. Like, it's only models wholly within 12 inches of a Void Shield generator.
So no more stringing a Death Star across the table, toe dragging one Fenrising a wolf in it, and not being able to be shot at, even though you're now 1 inch away from the enemy you're about to charge.
So there's definitely some. We were always seeing a Void Shield everywhere, all day, every day. So obviously, once something is that relevant in the game and prevalent everywhere, obviously something is going to get looked at somewhere. I agree that yes, that is a stretch, right? But as I talked about in the show, I don't necessarily think that I agree that. Well, I don't know. It's a toss-up. So it's a Gungan shield now.
Like, I think it's worth 100 points now. It used to be worth 300 points, the way we were playing it before.
So I guess so. Where I was going with that, if you guys watched the show tonight, the webcast, if I have, again, in my guard army, I have plasma, or I have tanks, and I have a Void Shield. So you're telling me if my tank is the back end of it is at the 12-inch line, and the front 3 inches of the vehicle is over, you can now uncontestedly hit this vehicle, no Void Shield. The model has to be, I think the verbatim, the word says it has to be wholly within the 12
entirely
inches.
Yeah, basically, yeah, you're right.
So I mean, that's huge. Like, at least now it is written, and that's how you play, so you play to those effects.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have a baseline to go from.
I think it was a little silly that it just bubble stretched across the table. So I'm happy with the wording, even though I like the Void Shield generator for my new orc list. It doesn't change much, ultimately, but it is now it finally is 100-point fortification. Like, it actually makes sense.
Yeah. So and I don't want to take us off on a tangent. I'm just kind of posing a question: is this a precedent being set for area of effects stuff like Shroud?
No, Shroud specifically not Shroud, because Shroud states that as long as one model in the unit has the Shroud special rule, the whole unit has it. So like Shroud second power would still be totally fine, unaffected. I don't believe it. I don't believe this is a precedent, because the main rulebook very clearly says when it wants you to be within or wholly within. It definitely always tells you. And now it says they changed it to be, because the void shield generators used to say within, which means as long as something's there. Now it says wholly within.
Wholly within. Absolutely.
So that's all they had to do to really fix it. And I think that the next one on the list also talks about the void shield generator.
Yep. Grab effects void shields on a 6-up now.
It's about time.
Yep.
Yeah, and Kenny, as you alluded to earlier, to be honest, most people are playing it that way. Some people try to get around it. There's actually,
It makes perfectly logical sense, like it's treated as an armor value. Like, let's collapse that shield. It clearly has substance to it. Let's graviton that shit. So I'm down with that one.
Yeah, I agree, and I wanted to jump back a little bit for without going too far off about the whole precedent setting thing. I don't think it sets a precedent either, but there was another one about transports that might have something to do with like bubble effects. You know what I mean? With like characters affecting stuff, because it was like if when a unit embarks on a vehicle, it is taken off the battlefield and does not interact with anything on the battlefield. However, certain rules may create exceptions to this rule, with the most obvious examples being fire points, psychic powers, and transports. If a unit's rules are meant to apply even when embarked on a transport, they will specify this. So the old, and I don't know if this was still a thing because I don't play armies that use it, but the old kind of like putting a priest in a transport to extend a bubble, feel no pain from the transport's hull, that may not be viable anymore.
That's interesting. Huh. Well,
I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, again, it's area effects.
The main rulebook does have a section in there that straight says anytime an effect needs to be measured to a unit in a vehicle, measured to the whole of the vehicle. Now, so I don't know if it stops you from doing that, but it would, unless it just says disregard that,
Yeah, I don't know, but I honestly, and I apologize for kind of confusing the issue, but I thought it said something else until I started reading it just now. So I was just like, oh, this applies to like the void shield thing, and it really doesn't. So
yeah,
sorry about that.
No, I can see that. It's very close. So kind of switching gears here, going to kind of another area of the rules, and this is something we've talked about here on the past with Horton. The best Demonkin player in the history of ever. The summon flying monsters creatures when they appear, whether it's summoned or whether it comes in from another mechanic, I believe, and I'm sure Haspel has the exact wording, they can choose their flight mode when they come into play.
So, yeah, I have it right. So conjured. So there's multiple things in play. So a conjured unit is the psychic power, the summon. That's straight up just like end all right there. This arrives deep strike. This model counts as coming from reserves. But the reason that was confusing was because it says a flying monstrous creature that enters the game through reserves can enter the game, it can enters in flight while flying, like while swooping. And we're like, that literally just is like the worst thing ever, because a Bloodthirster could, like, that means like if on turn 2 I summon a Bloodthirster, he's flying. He can't move because it's not the movement phase. Then on turn 3, he can land. Then on turn 4, if he's still alive, he can possibly assault something. So, like, if you summon on turn 2, you might assault on turn 4. And so the thing that makes this interesting, that opens a new door, is potentially, so this is huge, because Khorne Demonkin players, they bring in Bloodthirsters all the time. That's the only thing they can bring in. So that means he can glide when he comes in. It means he can assault the very next turn. But there might even be now a precedent, which we'll get to later in the list, that might allow that Bloodthirster, because Bloodthirsters in the Demonkin blood tithing chart, they come in at the beginning of the turn, my man. That means they come in at the beginning of the turn, they say, I'm gliding. And the blood tithing chart doesn't have the same caveat that the conjured units have, which is this is deep striking. You count as having been in reserves. It doesn't say that on the blood tithing chart. And we'll get to that here later, but that could possibly rehash the dialogue. Do Khorne Demonkin units that enter through the blood tithing chart, can they assault? So, and we'll obviously touch on that as we talk about a few more things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's a massive change that the D-Thirster. I know Horton's got to be tickled pink from it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way he can't be super stoked for that one. I mean,
and additionally, I mean, it also says now, like this, we didn't put this in the top 20, but it also says that if you conjure and summon like a greater demon from the psychic power, and you take a Bloodthirster, you can take any Bloodthirster ever except Scarbrand. So now that means you can just summon D-Thirsters with conjuring. You can exchange a 90-point unit of pink cores for a D-Thirster.
Yeah, that is massive. Not just the generic one, not just a generic this or that, but like shy of Scarbrand. Like, that is amazing.
Yeah, the D-Thirsters.
The D is real, guys.
Yeah, the D is definitely real. So switching gears again, we're kicking over to shooting. Now, they made a ruling that basically the only way you can hit flyers with templates is if you have Skyfire. So you can't be like, oh, I'm targeting this thing next to this flyer or this, monstrous creature. Oh, eclipse it. Okay, that's cool.
Specifically the FMC, because only the FMC was targetable, rules as written, because in its hard to hit description, it did not have the caveat that said can never be targeted by a template. It did not have that. But
yeah, that second sentence was not plugged in there with it. I'm glad that they put this in.
Right.
I mean, this makes sense to me.
Well, also, remember too, now you've got things that can actually shoot blast templates, doing dogfights and stuff with the new, Death from Skies. So it kind of makes sense that Skyfire Blast could hit flyers, or the flyers.
Well, I mean, flying monstrous creature hive tyrants that Juice plays, he always gives them electric shock grubs as a haywire to flame template. They'll be wrecking flyers all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is huge. And now, I mean, that's also big if Nurgle Princes come back, if this and this, like, they got Shroud, they got this, they can jinx. Sometimes I'd rather just hit them, with a Strength 4 or 5 Flamer and let them take a normal armor save versus a 2-up jinx save or something of the sort. Also the Helldrake. The Helldrake's shooting at another MC. I mean, now all of a sudden Helldrakes can Vector Strike. If you have that 2-man tandem like how the Long War ran at Adepticon this year, you shoot one with a flame template, then Vector Strike, do the overlapping fire. So it could definitely be a comeback.
It opens doors. It opens tactical doors, and that makes the game better.
Oh, without a doubt there. All right, so another point here, this may be one of the most controversial ones that are going to come out, is that you cannot walk through walls in a ruin.
Yeah, that's huge. That is a really big deal.
I would like to just start out this statement by saying, "What the fuck?"
Haspel, can you quote us verbatim that FAQ piece?
I can, and here it is. It says, question. A ruin, for example, a Shrine of the Aquila, is treated as difficult terrain, but does this mean that models can move through the walls? Answer, no. So that actually makes things. I'm in favor of this, but I feel like it needs to be qualified.
So they're only using it as an example. Sorry not to cut you off, but they said specifically an example Aquila stronghold point or whatever. It's not saying only the Aquila.
Right.
It's saying as an example.
But the qualification I meant was that maybe for infantry models can't move through the walls, but monstrous creatures, dreadnoughts, something like that. I would like to see a clarification where it would say that some kind of larger creatures can just punch right through the wall.
Furthermore, I would also like to say, isn't the Aquila stronghold, is that a strong point? That's not a fortification or a building, is it?
No, it's a ruin. It's one of the.
It's just one of the GW made ruins. That's just, yeah.
So let's talk about implications. So maybe everybody's driving in their car, they're doing their thing, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's line of sight. You can't walk through a dog, or you can't assault or something, right?" But let's talk about implications of actually what this means in gameplay. So you're saying now that I am a badass Space Marine. I am a Carnifex. What is the most badass shit in the world? But there is this wall, a ruin. First off, let's break down the word ruin. Busted ass building.
Old busted shit, yeah.
Old busted building. So in every other, as we talked about in the show, in every other rule book that I can remember, and I will just quote 4th and 5th. I have to go back. I know 6 was a little quonky, so I don't know if this rule transferred over, but because of us being such long 40K players, we just assumed. But, well, there was a multi-part paragraphs in there saying how, hey, difficult terrain checks mean this. Models being slowed by, dangerous terrain, difficult terrain, blah, blah, blah. This also means we are taking it for granted that Space Marines, that Nid Monsters has specific kind of acid to melt through walls. Space Marines have plas cutters, plas steel cutters, open up buildings, and the difficult terrain check is representing them how fast and quickly they're able to bust down this wall to move through the terrain.
Yeah, like breacher teams. Like you've got one guy in your unit that's busting a hole through a wall, and they're all waiting. How fast is he?
Yeah, is this unit badass right now, or did somebody not spark right or taking their time or whatever else, right?
Juice, having said that, how do you feel, like obviously cinematically it doesn't make sense, but how do you feel in the whole grand scheme of tactically of how the game plays? How do you feel about it there, though? Oh,
it's terrible, in my opinion. So I don't want to take such a hard stance as saying it's terrible, but I don't think it's good. So this is why. So I love the aspect of you can't see me. I'm going to hide behind this.
Juice cut out there. I'll pick up where he left off. Hopefully his mic situation will be resolved here in a minute.
I don't know.
We talked about it on the webcast, and what he was basically his point is that there are so many points of the game that are so streamlined and it's so abstract that this is such a tight cinematic element of the game. It doesn't sometimes seem like it matches up with the rest of the way things read. And I'll let him clarify that when he's able to get back in the podcast here. But to answer my own question, I think it's a great thing because every game of 40K I've played in the last year, might as well just fucking take the terrain off the table.
Yeah,
the terrain
there's
doesn't
no
do
point.
anything. Doesn't do anything. Like, I have a psychic power, I have a void shield generator, I have this, I have that. I'm going to just run up to the line of sight blocking terrain with no penalty and then literally just move right through it like it didn't exist. It basically didn't exist. It only existed to give me one benefit with no negative. Now, if line of sight blocking ruins all of a sudden forced my Death Star to go around them, now there's a movement game. There's a new tactical element of the game. For me personally, I'd like to see terrain matter more because I can't tell you how many games I've played where I was like, yo, terrain just doesn't matter.
No, that's exactly right. And the whole fact that now you're going to have to maneuver around these walls to not only get line of sight, but also launch these charges because you can't just go barreling through walls, and things like that. It's pretty brutal. I
apologize, guys. My computer just decided to drop out. But I'm sorry, as you guys were probably saying, my stance on it is I feel like this is going to become more of a hindrance than a positive tacticalness. I do see the fact of people now as terrain that events and TOs and tournaments are going towards. They have big line of sight blocking terrain in the center, right? And it is kind of a little abusive for some units. I'd like to get Aaron Along on the show and hear his opinion on this. But where you have this big 1,000-point star that runs up to the middle of the table, is hiding behind line of sight, and now just blows through, right? But I can't fathom the point of telling us how on God's green earth this little wall can stop us from doing anything. In my opinion, it breaks the third wall of us playing 40K. Does that make sense? It is putting us in a place that we actually probably shouldn't be, But I don't believe also, and this is just kind of where my mind goes, are you kidding me now? Now a 55-point or a 30 or 55-point Eldar jet bike unit is now almost unkillable because the only way that
they can fly over it because they're jetpacks, so they can get the benefit and the benefit where all other units get the benefit plus a negative.
Well, keep in mind though, this is talking about ruins, not just a wall. It's talking about a ruin.
And a ruin is a very specific type of terrain. So obviously, if your line of sight blocking terrain in the middle of the table wasn't outlined as a ruin by your tournament organizer, then this wouldn't apply to you.
And the other thing is I kind of take the opposite view of Juice. I think it adds more to it, because if you are storming, and I hate to use like in real life, and be nerdy about it, but you're not going to go through even drywall. You're going to go around and use the door. That's if you're assaulting someplace.
Especially if you're not trying to give up your position. Like you're right. Realistically, you wouldn't just say, let's blow this wall up and keep going, guys. You'd say you tactically move around, you check the corners, you'd be like clear, you move around. You know what I'm saying? Like there's definitely.
If you're Batman.
Yo, that's why I was like, wait a second.
Batman does just go through the damn.
I was getting ready to say, guys, like, come on, like we are literally
based
talking
on the Dawn of War 3 trailer we just watched. A Space Marine would go right through the fucking.
40,000 years in the future, they got chain swords, bro. Like I'm in power armor. Like I would bust through. There isn't a wall that I wouldn't bust through.
And there's a spaceship docked in space, like monitoring the battle from orbit, telling you that you should just go through the wall.
Right. True.
You're right.
True.
It really, like in the game system, it might actually conflict with like the fourth wall, and ultimately this is just one of those things. 4th edition terrain was so much better for tournament play. Like I would love to just see go abstract come back.
So but I like this because I feel like anything that makes the game more tactical, it makes it better. It's at least more fun for me, and that's just kind of the way I like to play. So now, because you can't just walk through the wall, objective placement becomes more important. Where guys are positioned to shoot through
good
windows
call.
More important. All this different stuff becomes more important now, because if the guy can't just go right through the wall to contest that objective, if you position that objective 3 inches from the wall, he can't just be on the other side contesting it.
No, you're right. I would like just to put this out there. We always have talked about trying to play engaging 40K. Let me tell you what this does. It does not allow you to engage each other. It literally now just says, okay, cool, I'll just take psychic abilities and war gear that allows me to ignore line of sight, that allows me to do this.
Hold up.
I'll just stand and shoot.
Juice, you just made me think of something. You know the Magneto B-Boy stance attack where you move terrain pieces?
Yeah.
That just begun to make a lot more sense to me.
Eldritch Storm it.
Being able to there's multiple ways in the game to move that ruin out of the way.
Now there's multiple levels there's multiple ways in the game for some armies to have access to moving some pieces of terrain. Yes.
Yeah. Well, but let's not get it twisted. In 40K, there's only 2 armies. Like there's only Space Marines and Eldar. Like those are the only 2 armies that GW cares about right now. So don't even like all the other armies are just there so those 2 armies can fight each other. So
they have other people to fight. But either way, I'm not trying to be like a negative Nancy. Like I love it. I have some biasness about it because we want to play with this rule by saying a ruin. It is so cut and dry. It is so impenetrable that you can't go through it. You can't do this and this, right? It's basically impassable terrain now, even though I own a melt-a-gun. Even though I'm a Space Marine with a melt-a-gun, that is basically a fucking microwave that beams. That
means a strength 10 dreadnought can't just kick over the wall. And that will segue into another one of our FAQ questions that we'll get in a second.
Because, I mean, that's one of the reasons I kind of want a caveat to this one is that with, like, for instance, the Dawn of War 2 opening trailer had that dreadnought just like breaking out of stuff and grabbing the Eldar.
He was hiding behind the wall, and then he gotcha, bitch.
So he obviously that was falsified. He couldn't do that.
Yeah, that was busted.
He was busted. Come to find out, you can't go through that wall and assault anything.
Yeah, so I mean, I have mixed feelings on this. I like it because of the gameplay, but you're right that fluff-wise and cinematically, and it kind of doesn't.
If we were playing a historical miniature game, it'd make a lot more sense. And in the end, you know.
But let's just keep going, and then so we can refer back to what we were talking about of why I kind of have some frustrations with it, because we want to play this ruin rule super tight and super close to the line. That's all I'm saying. Robbie,
Rob.
Well, I think we should probably take a quick break real quick because we kind of went over halfway there. So we'll take a break and be right back.
Dear veterans, quickly make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at dicehead.com have rewarded us all with an extra 6% discount on all dicehead.com merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy. veterans, have you been by thelongwar.net lately? New spoils are piling up. Sign up at thelongwar.net and claim your code to unlock valuable discounts at your favorite wargaming stores. Our friends at kingshobbiesandgames.com have added to that horde. An additional 5% off their already low prices. Sign up for free. thelongwar.net. Dear veterans, quickly! Make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
And we're back. So I don't know where we are on this list. I don't think we're halfway through.
We are.
Feel no pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I knew where we were, but I couldn't tell, like, we were halfway. I know we're halfway to the show. Anyways, so Feel No Pain now has been clarified that it cannot be improved to a 1+, which we kind of talked about on the show. I don't think we ever alluded that was actually, air quotes, legal, but it was doable.
We made a million. I mean, in the past, I think we've made our feelings clear that Feel No Pain is not the same thing as an armor save, and that, like, basically we didn't individually have a problem with there being a such thing as 1+ Feel No Pain, because ultimately there's a million ways to take that away from somebody, and all tournament players think about things like Feel No Pain, like force weapons, destroyer weapons, stomps, strength 10, double toughness, enfeeble. There's a million ways to take someone's Feel No Pain away, so you're taking this amazing level of defense away. And so I don't think that, me and Juice talked about this, we just don't think GW plays hard enough in their Beats Lab for playtesting to realize that. You know, like, they don't, you know, so they're just like, oh, this is literally like, you can't have this. But you can have very clearly in their rule set a 2-up rerollable, invulnerable.
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't know our stance on it, is like a 2-up rerollable or invisible is so much better than a 1+ Feel No Pain, if you actually think about it, because, as Kenny has already alluded to, there is a plethora of things that will eliminate the 1+ Feel No Pain. You actually not make it to a 2+ Feel No Pain, not to a 3+. You go from a 1+ to a none, 0.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
It's so arbitrary. Like, 2-up rerollable, you basically are saying every gun in this army can't hurt me. With a 1+ Feel No Pain, you're saying every gun in this guy's army can't hurt me. It's literally the same thing, except when they do have a gun that can hurt you. You know what I mean? So, like,
because then it actually destroys me.
Yeah.
You know, so that is where we're saying a 1+ Feel No Pain versus the 2-up rerollable. I am in agreement. It is, hey, they fact it and it's cool. At least, well, I'm happy to see facts, but I cannot agree with this one. And again, as Kenny said, I think it's because you can get a 1+ Feel No Pain without psychic abilities, with warlord traits and stuff like that, where a 2-up rerollable, I think the easiest way off the cuff would maybe be...
You need a Grimoire plus Cursed Earth on a...
Oh, so you would need both, right? I didn't realize that. Okay.
To get both, yeah. You would need both. And so, I mean, that's one psychic power plus one Grimoire plus the auto... I mean, it's...
And Grimoire has a negative, so, like, yeah, I mean, I you're right. It's the fact that GW could. I think maybe a 1+ Feel No Pain is more out in the open per se. I don't know how it could be, but
Fist of Medusa Strike Force, you can roll on the Warlord trait to get your Chapter Master right up the gate with a 1+.
And you get to roll twice on that. Oh no, it's twice.
But honestly, the easier route is honestly your Librarius Conclave, just rolling for endurance and you have it. You know what I mean? So it's like. But you're right. It's. I don't think honestly it matters. But I do think for like casual games, I think a 1+ Feel No Pain can literally become invincible to casual gamers. So I can see why GW would make this ruling, because I think they're casual gamers.
Oh, yeah.
One last thing that I'll say on it, I guess ultimately with the 1+ Feel No Pain, there is no dice rolling. Right, so people feel cheated. Where a 2-up rerollable, they're saying there's a 1 in 36 chance that something is going to happen. So people are like, oh, well, it's at least it's a chance. It's a 1 in 36, but they don't understand that a 1 in 36 literally means it's never going to happen in the gameplay.
In the history of 40K Screamer stars, like making them take 2-up rerollables, I mean, like, and that's the way that you literally have killed one Screamer like your whole life. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, well, moving on to something that might be a little bit more far-reaching, Battle Brothers can no longer start out deployed in each other's transports.
Yeah.
Cold as ice.
Drop
And
drop
that's
pod
almost
taxes are
verbatim.
gone.
That's almost verbatim too, because we had a little bit of a back and forth on this, and I was like, "Oh no, dedicated transports, just take the fast attack drop pod." No, it's not what it said. It said each other's transports. A drop pod is a transport vehicle. That's its unit description.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, no, you're right. It just doesn't matter if it's a dedicated transport or not. It's literally that faction, that your Battle Brothers transport. You don't get to deploy in it. You don't get to start the game in it. You don't get to start the game of reserves in it. This might be a step in the right direction to eliminate some of the Battle Brother abuse that's been existing in Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, so no more purifiers riding down in Space Wolf drop pods, or the drop pod taxi is over.
So that's so far-reaching. I mean, it's not just drop pods; it's raiders, fire dragons or Wraithguard and raiders.
D-side send a Dark Eldar raider that deep strike in to kill you with their D-sides. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, you'll never have to worry about seeing, Harlequins hopping out of a Venom ever again. I'm just kidding. First off, you never saw that, and actually, I just realized Dark Eldar have their own Harlequins. So I was just trying to use a point that you never see anyway. But
Yes.
all right, got it.
Nice.
Regardless, you will continue to never see that.
All right, another big one. Infiltrate is now optional. Setting up.
Wow. So put that in perspective. What does that mean?
Well,
It
that's
used to
the
say-
it
yeah,
went
sorry, I'll
back
let
to
you-
the way it used to be, where if they had infiltrate, you could use infiltrate if you wanted to. And then with 7th, the way I guess folks interpreted it was that if it had infiltrate, they had to be the last guys deployed. They get infiltrated.
And
After
it wasn't a
your
far
deployment.
stretch. It wasn't
Yeah,
a far
it's
stretch
not
because
a
it
far
used to
stretch.
say they can shoot if a mission allows us. You can choose to set up this
Right.
way. It says units with this special rule set up in the following manner. It didn't give you a may or a must. It just said they set up in the following manner.
Right.
So that actually jacks me up in a lot of my armies I play because it's like, I want to put something here, I want to put something there, I want to attach an invented character here. You can't do any of those, but now you can. You can just say, you know what, these scouts are not going to infiltrate.
Yep.
That's
And
that's
a lot of times
pretty
people are
huge.
taking scouts because they're objective secure. Like in a lot of Space Marine builds, the only part of their army is objective secured is their scouts, right? So all of a sudden now you can just be tucked over here in the corner where you weren't going to do a forward pushing unit, and literally it just starts with the characters.
It only matters to put your characters in it. Like infiltrating is always amazing because you get to set up last and be somewhere else. But now that gives you just that tiny bit of tactical flexibility where you could do things a little bit. Like you want to hear how it immediately applies? Let me explain this. Here's how you break this right out the gate. So what does another rule scouts have?
Infiltrate, scout.
And scout move,
scout.
outflank.
So now you can attach a Death Star to a scout squad because they don't infiltrate now. Before they had to infiltrate, you couldn't attach all your ICs to it.
Yeah, because
Now
the
you
whole
can say-
infil cheating aspect.
Yes. Now for 55 points, you can give any combination of amazing killer independent characters scout. Because now it's a redeploy. So you can literally attach just like every Iron Priest and Wolfguard battle leader in existence to this scout squad on Thunderwolves, and they can just redeploy, go 12 inches forward now for 55 points.
No more having to take the Liber Harris picks. It's basically
Nothing.
going to be dead.
Something that you already had in your army. Now you can do that tactic.
Yeah, it's that's something to definitely think about. I feel like now we're not gonna get down that rabbit hole right now because we still got a couple of things to cover. So now this is something that I think Juice is gonna have a lot to say about. Monstrous creatures can charge multiple units.
So, do you know how many times I've been in a situation where back in the day playing Leaf Blower, playing up against somebody's a Space Marine army that has 9 billion Razorbacks or whatnot, and I literally make base contact with 2 vehicles, 2 units, but they're like, yep, you can only assault 1. Yeah, actually, I just moved this model out of the way for you. So I know this is bullshit. My base is big enough. So I am so happy to hear that now I can interact with multiple units with my individual monstrous creature. My Demacheron that's only moving 6 inches, now I know on turn 5 when the game's almost over and he's finally made it to base contact with something, he could have the potential, if he isn't dead already, to assault multiple units.
That's huge. That means Wraith Knights too, in my opinion, because gargantuan creatures say they follow all the same rules for monstrous creatures. So yet again, GW has reinforced gargantuan creatures because super heavy walkers did not get this new rule. Monstrous creatures did.
True story.
Very, very interesting and very.
Come to find out, if I don't know if we've ever said this on this show or not, but come to find out, if you have wounds, it's better than an armor value.
Hey,
I didn't see.
You know who could benefit from that? Dreadnoughts. They could get wounds. I can't
Holy
even
shit,
keep it.
Haspel, I've never thought about that.
I can't even keep a straight face.
Wait a second, so Haspel, you're telling me if GW made Dreadnoughts toughness 8?
If they were monstrous creatures and they were toughness 7 with a 3-up armor save and a 5-up field of pain, they would be better.
No way.
So I just want the record to show we have now done successfully like 45 episodes in a row where we brought up this subject.
Moving right along.
It's like it just never stops. It just never stops. We always find a way to work it in. So now this is something that I personally, this is a holdover from Apocalypse rules, I feel like, and I've always done it this way. I never even realized it wasn't written in the main rulebook this way, but Gargantuan and Super Heavies must declare all of their targets for shooting first. They can shoot at all the different targets, but you're supposed to declare them first.
I am so happy that this rule is in place. I feel like it's something that needs to be done, and it's always kind of been a loophole around it. I have always been kind of uneasy when people attempt playing against me to do it that way. It's kind of one of those like, man, I'm not going to say anything because there isn't a hard stance one way or the other, but it's like you should be doing this.
Yeah, I would like to see this rule extended to the entire game. To everything. Like in your shooting phase, shooting happens simultaneously, so you declare what you're shooting at.
Yeah, you're right, because you wouldn't just wait. You wouldn't just wait for all your people to shoot in your whole army. It's just like assaults. You actually have to declare your assaults before you make them all. That's actually how the rules work. So it'd actually make the game a lot more tactical if they applied this to the whole game.
But I'm in favor of this. It makes sense to me.
Yep, and I agree with Juice. I couldn't agree with you more, Juice, like the way you're like, it makes me uneasy. Yeah, I think we all knew in our heart it should have always been this way.
Yeah, you kind of look at your opponent and you're like, you're that kind of guy. Got it. No doubt. Moving right along.
Yep, without a doubt. So we're actually making good time here, getting through this list. So this is another one that just kind of seems like a no-brainer, but it was never really written in stone, I feel like. You can jink versus Overwatch fire.
Makes me so happy to have it finally written, because every time I do it with Battlecore in his last wound after he landed, I'm going to charge these 5 scouts who overwatch me, and I only have a 4-up save and they do 1 wound. I always say, I'm assaulting you. Okay, Overwatch. I jink. And they're like, you can't jink versus Overwatch. I'm like, it's a shooting attack. I can jink versus any shooting attack. I'm going to start doing that with my Orc Death Star every time. You know what I mean? Like, people always look at me weird like I'm doing something wrong. I'm so glad to finally see that this is real.
Yep. No, I mean, it makes total sense because, just like you said, it's basically a shooting attack. All shooting rules apply. So there's a lot of other things that, are part of this too.
You know what it also does? It finally settles that debate I have every other game of 40K when I was playing my monstrous creatures. Once I stopped swooping and I started gliding, and I continue to jink with my Nurgle Demon Princes, they're like, oh, you can't jink still. Like, you're not flying. And I'm like, yo, literally I have the jink special rule. I can jink whenever I want. And they'd always like argue with you, and then you'd have to be like, you show them it's a universal special rule. This is like, yo, if you can jink versus Overwatch, dog, guess where you are? You're on the ground, son. Like,
truth.
Yep, without a doubt. All right, let's see, where else are we on this list? Oh, this is a big one. Blast can specifically hit all levels now. It's basically you put the template or the blast over things, and that's what gets hit.
Okay. Vets, if you were wondering what I was referring to when we were talking about the ruins, it is time. So let's go back to what I said just a few minutes ago, and I'm not going to make you rewind it, so I'm just going to say the phrase again. Let's play super tight and to the line about ruins, right? Even though we can fabricate so many other different ways that it makes sense, doesn't make sense, whatever else, right? But all of a sudden now, let's switch gears and let's start playing fast and loose. Because you're telling me that I put the blast template over the models. I completely agree with all parties involved that if you look over and you can see models on 15 different levels, I don't care. Yes, you can hit every one of them because you can physically see it. You can see these models. But what I don't like is you're telling me now that you can look over this and now you are wounding models that you can't see. Warhammer 40K is based off a game of inches. An eighth of an inch can be the deciding factor whether or not a 1,000-point Death Star makes base contact or not. Why in God's green earth are we now all of a sudden saying is it should say, the verbiage should say this, look over the blast template. You hit all the models that you can see. The other models, just guess.
Yeah, because that's what it says, because there's almost no way to accurately, like if I got like 10 models in a 20 model unit visible, but I got the rest of them tucked tight under the roofs and the ceilings, you're just like, I think I can hit them all. Like, I mean, well, how can you tell? How can you tell? Like, I mean, you want me to like extrapolate with a computer model, take all the guys out of here, measure the template? Like, how do you want to determine this? Like, what if they're under a Sky Shield landing pad?
Like, prime example. Thanks, Kenny. Like you're saying, like there's actually at this point in time now you're saying I need to remove pieces of terrain and things from gameplay, to accurately do this. If not, I look over and then I just say, oh well, again we have to call it like we see it. Oh well, I guess I hit 10. That's like saying you pick up and roll dice, and I say without looking or counting, I just say, oh, I guess I hit with 9. I don't actually know. I could have actually hit with 8.
I have been right there with you on this rule since the beginning of time. I'm shocked GW ruled it this way. Shocked, because I thought for sure that the wording in the main rulebook was clear as day. When it said hold the template over the unit and lean over and see it and count up how many guys are hit, that's how many are hit. I was like, yo, that's literally a different story than what everyone else was preaching to me, because everyone else has been against me and Juice on the subject from the beginning. And we've always argued, you don't know, GW, I promise you this is how they intended it. And we've just been proved wrong here today. GW clearly did not, like, they intended this way. And they even went further in their description to say it represents a 3-dimensional blast. And so then I agree, fine. Semantically, you're right. It'd be an explosion. But that takes us back to the wall. So a strength 10 Dreadnought can't kick through the wall, but a strength 4 AP dash barrage template can blow right through that wall.
So it can hurt everybody else that it can't see because it's a blast template, but it's only strength 4 with no AP. But you're telling me my Space Marine with a melt-a-gun, or my Iron Priest with a strength 10 AP1 Thunderhammer that is
with
built.
Exactly the same stats. My strength 4 AP dash Space Marine. You're telling me he can't do it,
Yeah. So this is where my frustration lies. It's like, look, let's either play like rule. This is what I would have liked to have seen. And this is why I kind of have a little biasness of it. It's like, all right, let's sit down and let's make FAQs. All right, before we do this FAQ council, let's decide right now. We are going to FAQ this tight into the line or fast and loose. But under no circumstance are we going to rule fast and loose and tight into the line in the same fucking FAQ.
It's called shake and bake.
Yeah.
It's abstract versus cinematic, yeah. Because we used to in 4th edition it was an abstract concept of terrain, and then 5th edition changed everything and we went cinematic, true line of sight, model's eye view. So we're playing, in my opinion, a model's eye view ruling in the same breath as a super abstract ruling. So that is to me weird.
I have a question for you guys. Would if you treated ruins, like it doesn't say ruins in the reading, it just says any type of multi-level terrain. That's all it says. But if you treated ruins as buildings, using saying that they can collapse just like buildings do.
Yeah, I think a lot of
things. Would that alleviate some of your
yes.
some of your gripes?
A caveat just shows this is why a chart, and it could be as simple as this, guys. It doesn't need to be on the roll of a 1 something happens, on the roll of a 2 something happens, and so on and so forth. Because as we know, GW can get chart happy. Those mother truckers will put a chart on anything, okay? So we don't need to go there. But by them saying simply, this barrage does this to a building, it hits all these parties involved. On the roll of a 6, the building is now taking so much structural damage that it collapses and it is no more multi-part levels. Use the something, don't even say, oh, then models die. Just say, hey, look, we're saying that everybody is tough enough in the 41st millennium to survive the fall. It is as simple as that, and it doesn't have to go anymore. But by putting that caveat in, it addresses the fact that you are now making an attempt to go back to straight into the line instead of that fast and loose policy that I think this is.
Yep. I mean, it's very tough to have it both ways there, I feel like. So that's going to be a big one to see how that one shakes down overall in the final version here. Now, this one, this was kind of like a no-brainer, I feel like, but you can't apply a bonus to deny the witch versus psychic powers that don't target you. So you can't just like pick a psyker and be like, yo, I'm 2 up to deny.
Finally. What was that Eldar war gear that came out that everyone was trying to use, where they can like reroll any deny the witch rolls?
I think it is. Can't remember. I was going to try to come up with some quick name.
Whatever it was, that was what started this whole fight. Like, because everyone is like, the logic loop of the deny the witch ruling is like, pick a model to deny the witch, and then repeat all the previous steps. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to pick this guy, but you weren't the target of a power. And they were like, well, literally, it didn't say that. It said this. It's like, well, you're going to have to use a little bit of your brain to realize if you're not the target of a power, you don't get to apply your bonuses, because it says over here you can't apply your bonuses. So people were saying, well, that means Card of Betrayer can use his 2 up for the whole army. That means Grey Knights can always reroll. If there's any Grey Knights in your army, you can always reroll 1s. Finally, they just came out and said it. Nah, if it's not a malediction, or it's not a witchfire, if it doesn't target you in any way, like literally, you don't get to apply these bonuses. You deny a 6. The end of story. Finally, we got a real FAQ that says that.
Yep. And that is good. I mean, I don't really know many people that played it that way, but I mean,
for the first 2 weeks, every Eldar player on Earth who was like, I've been playing Eldar since the beginning, I always played Eldar, they all wanted to play it that way.
Oh, well, every Eldar always wanted to play every rule a certain way, I feel like. This one's a big one here. Scout redeploy happens after seize rolls. Crickets?
I had to read that one 6 times before I wrote it down. I was like, after. Is that after? After.
No.
What?
What? Do they mean after?
I think they mean after.
Do they?
I literally was like pulling out a flow chart. I got like a Venn diagram in the background. I was like, after. Define after. You mean I get to set up my Death Star, everything, my whole scout army, all my flesh hounds, whatever you calling it. I get to set my whole army up. Like, I'm going to go first. Then you seize the initiative on me successfully. Then I get to redeploy all my flesh hounds behind a ruin or behind a building now. Like, I don't have to commit to something. Like, no committing, that is such a boon to Scout.
Yeah, or furthermore, you're like, oh, I actually did seize the initiative. Oh, it's safe now to come out and play. So let me just go ahead and do all this move. Like,
I didn't even think about it in reverse. Damn.
Yeah, like, yo, you're just like, oh, I did seize the initiative. Let's go. It's go time. I mean, I just don't understand. Again, we're talking about tacticals, or being tactical, and this is helping the game, being tactical, and this. This is not. This is actually.
It's almost like they wrote it backwards by accident. It's like so.
No doubt. I'm pretty sure somebody else in the GW compound has dyslexia like me, and just said their words backwards every once in a while. So they just typed it backwards.
No, I think they did it right, or with their air quotes right. This one we could talk for this one for a while. If both players have something that happens at the start of the turn, you roll off to see who's takes precedence or who has the priority.
Yeah, I don't know Kenny, if one of you guys want to go first, but I have an opinion on this.
Haspel, is this a precedent?
I think Haspel had to go to work.
Oh, Haspel boosted out of here. So this is not an example. This seems like it could be a precedent. I really hope it's not, but this could be a precedent if interpreted that way for everything in the game that happens at the same time as somebody else. If you have to roll off every time, you no longer have that strength of like,
yes.
Oh, I went first. It's my turn right now. I get to do mine first. This could be crazy.
Yeah, and again, let's talk. There is the tactical aspect. that if I am going first, it is my turn. I get the precedent that my stuff comes in at the end of the consolidation move. I get to move my models first because it is my turn and I did the charging. Now you got to think that every incident that this comes up, you literally have to roll off, and it's a 50-50 chance.
And I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater because there's actually a shitload of things in the game that do require roll-offs to happen at the same time. For example, scout moves require roll-offs. Hit and run requires a roll-off. So there are tons of game mechanics that do require a roll-off, and there are some that it specifically says like whose turn it is. So this one is like not too far from the line. So I don't want to interpret it as a precedent. I want to interpret it specifically as a beginning of the turn thing.
Okay, and I'm with that. And you want to know what? It doesn't necessarily for tacticalness or whatever. It's just I feel like, is it that big a deal that you couldn't just say whoever's the owner player's turn has the seniority at this aspect? Do we really need to take the time and effort to roll a dice? Agreed. You know what I mean?
Agreed, man.
All right, so this one's going to be a little bit bigger, I feel like. Well, maybe not quite as much. Monsters, creatures that are independent characters, which there isn't a whole lot of them, can join other units.
So immediately the Tau, Riptide, Ovessa.
Mike, what is that? What formation?
Tide Star. What is that?
It's the
Riptide.
The
whenever that was winning.
Well, but that list doesn't even exist anymore. The formation requires you to take these 8 models now, so it's not that good. But technically, you could take the Riptide 8 IC, join it to a unit of broadsides that already had the buff commander in it, because this doesn't overrule the fact that ICs can never be a part of can never join is the wording. Never be a part is not the wording. An IC can never join a unit that has a monstrous creature in it, right? If the guy is already in the unit, the IC, who is a monstrous creature, doesn't have a backwards wording that says he can't join a unit that's not an MC, he can technically join a broadside unit with the buff commander in it and make all his weapons benefit just like the old days. Now, it's really expensive to do for Tau because of like the new formations. I'm going to look in the Q&A to see if anyone who's listening to our recording knows of any monstrous creatures. Does anybody know?
Ovessa.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a quick Google search because I just want to know. I'm looking at a DACA thread right now to see if anybody knows. Is there a Wraith Seer? Oh, there's a Wraith Seer independent character. That's right.
Forge World.
Is he a monster? Hold on, I got that right here.
Yeah, he is. He's like a Wraith.
He's got one of those D cannons on his shoulder.
He does. He's like the Predator.
Yeah, he's actually really cool. I love that model. I love the look of him and everything else.
So he can join units. I'm looking around. I'm not seeing a whole lot of people.
Talos. Those are monster creature for Dark Eldar. Orcs don't have a monstrous creature. Space Marines don't have monstrous creatures. Maybe it is specifically just addressing the Tau aspect.
I mean, I'm doing a couple like more Google Kung Fu's. Check the Q&A, see if anyone knows, because I'd love to.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here. Nothing's come up.
Is Scarbrand an independent character?
He wasn't in the Demon book. I don't have the Curse the Wolfen book right now.
But guys, I to be honest, I think it is. I would say it could be as isolated as the Tau because of how it used to be. Because you think about it, what other template weapon can also get preferred enemy? Like I feel like that Q&A was specifically asked for Pask and his unit.
Well, I mean, anything can get preferred enemy, doesn't it?
But it doesn't apply. It doesn't like how would preferred enemy even apply to
a vehicle
on any other weapon?
In any other weapon, platforms. Like I can't, like a plasma cannon on a Devastator squad. If Pask was,
nothing else would ever use preferred enemy on the hit.
No, and it specifically says template. So I think it could be just as isolated, like under these. Maybe that's why it was such a big document, is because it's more individual.
Maybe it was all those sweaty tryhards from 6th edition that got good.
Could be. And you think about it. Hey, when was the last FAQ? They could be going through. They could be thinking that this is still relevant because of the Tau aspect, but it's not.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, so it could just not be. Yeah, it could. It
doesn't.
The
Wraith Seer is a monstrous creature that is an independent character.
And what is he like? Is he like a Wraith Guard or equivalent or whatever?
He's a Wraith Lord equivalent.
He's a Wraith Lord
equivalent.
equivalent with a Wraith shield. He's a Psyker, Master Level 1.
He's actually what every Wraith Lord wishes they could be.
Basically. And he comes with a
cannon and a
Oh, he has 3 powers. One is the target unit gains fleet. So he targets a friendly unit of Wraith Guard, Wraith Blades, or a single Wraith Lord. He has a weapon profile, shooting attack, strength 3, AP 5, that makes the unit -2 leadership penalty. Assault D6, and he is ballistic skill 4, not bad. Deliverance, a blessing, which targets a single friendly unit of Wraith Guard, Wraith Blades, or a single Wraith Lord. While the power is in effect, the target unit gains field impact 5 up.
I think that this question might have simply been asked about this guy, because I'm like seeing multiple threads online that are asking the question specifically with him. So he must be one of the first monstrous creature ICs in a long time. And when GW came out with 7th edition, they specifically altered the wording to eliminate the like buff commander joining a Riptide wording. But then so it doesn't seem like there was a whole lot of monstrous creatures that were ICs after that. And this character came out with the Doom of My Mirror, Forge Worlds. And so people were asking, can he join a unit? So it looks like he can. There might not be a whole lot of other people who benefit from this besides him. So this might not be amazing. You can try to abuse it through your Tau army, but it's not going to be nearly as point efficient as some other Tau builds.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it is what it is. I'm sure we'll see something. Or there's probably this one thing that everybody's going to hit us up about and be like, "Oh, y'all are stupid." So, I can't pretend I'm not. I'm stupid as shit. If that's the one thing I mess up today, I'm okay with it. So those are our big top 20 right there, and we'll have that article up here on the blog probably tomorrow about the same time this podcast is coming out. So feel free to comment over there or on any of the other normal spots.
Hey, and before I know where it looks like we went over tonight, but hey, we got to go talk about this FAQs. I would just like to say on more of an ending note, I am so pumped that GW is doing FAQs again. I think it's amazing. GW, like, large golf clap to you. It shows that you are caring. It shows that you care about the rules in your game, and it's not in your mind just this hobby-centric, not even the fact of hobby, but just you are just a modeling company. You actually are trying to go in and refining, your craft a little bit. So solid golf clap. But if that doesn't mean that you think that we will correct you if we think you're wrong, that is a mistake. So.
Yep, no doubt there. I'm sure there'll be lots of comments on this thing going forward, and hopefully we can get a good version out of it and move forward for everybody. I feel like so.
All day.
Yeah, yep. And also, it's like when you leave comments, don't just be like, that's why we try to go in depth a little bit on why we think something is not right, what we would like to see, and everything else. It's easy for anybody to say, hey, now all of a sudden you can't move through walls. Oh, that's stupid. Oh, GW asking, well, what would you like to see? That's just dumb. It should be changed. Like, well, first off, that's not what we do. When we talk about something, you see the evolution of we address something that we see a problem with it, we go into it, we talk about it, and we show examples of what could happen. And I think that's how you can, from the bottom up, figure out how to fix things instead of just being internet trolls.
Fair point.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, I think we've about hit a good stopping point there, guys. We'll pick it up again next week, I'm sure, with some tech on the flyer rules and maybe going back to the Angels of Death stuff, which we really didn't kind of close out. I don't feel like.
No doubt, we got a big Angels of Death OP ? New flyers, gangster mode. We got a lot of episodes we still got to do.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like the whole Angels of Death thing definitely is gonna pair well with this whole FAQ. Release now as well, so there'll be lots more to talk about for sure, for weeksies. So Haspel isn't here to take us out, so we'll just leave it with this. Make sure you head on over to the Long War. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.
Check out thelongwar.net. Become a member of the Hall of Veterans today for the fastest growing library of war game related video content, modeling, painting, and playing not to mention all the sick discounts I receive from some of our sponsors. TheLongWar.net is committed to bringing hobby back, and we can't do it without you.